Hello students, welcome to the channel. Today we'll do a vocabulary in context drill that works for both SAT reading and SAT writing. On SAT reading, you are asked to find the meaning of a word in context when a word is underlined from the passage and you need to find its correct meaning as used in the passage. On SAT writing, you may be required to replace a word with the correct word depending on the context. So this drill will work for both. Let's begin. Question 1. Within the field of theory and criticism, various terms and concepts are applied to the encounter between the reader and the text. So in any vocabulary question, you should first try and understand what the sentence is saying and what is the best replacement for the word that you have been asked to look at. So here I'm talking about the field of theory and criticism, and I'm talking about the way the reader and the text come together, the way the reader meets the text and tries to look at the text, analyze the text, right? So that encounter between the reader and the text has been defined by various terms, right? So if I look at the options here, I have confrontation, I have engagement, I have action, and I have appointment. So the best replacement for the word encounter as used in the sentence would be engagement. Why? Because to engage with someone is to get to know something, is to understand something, is to delve deeper into something, right? And that is exactly what the encounter between the reader and the text means, that the reader engages with the text, the reader delves deeply into the text, and there are many terms for that, right? So the best answer for this is engagement. Now, confrontation has a negative connotation. One of the things that you should try and always look at if you're not sure of the answer is whether I'm looking for a positive word or a negative word, right? So here I'm not looking for a negative word, right? I'm talking about an encounter, a meeting between the reader and the text. So I can't choose something like confrontation, which has a negative connotation, something like a fight, right? So A can't be the right answer. Action. Action indicates something active, right? Like take an action or to do an action. But here I'm not necessarily talking about an active response. I'm talking about the reader getting into the text and understanding what the text stands for. So action doesn't fit the context. An appointment would mean, for example, an appointment to see a doctor, right? For example, um, basically an appointment would mean any sort of pre-decided time when an event takes place, right? So again, that is not what the sentence is trying to say, right? The sentence is basically trying to say that the reader approaches the text in some way, and there are many words to describe it. So D is also incorrect. So I notice that my right answer is option B. Okay, question 2. While neoclassical literary theory displays a renewed interest in Greek and Latin classics, it also manifests a concern with vernacular languages and national literatures. So here I'm talking about neoclassical literary theory, and it says that on the one hand, this theory displays a renewed interest in classics, right? So even if it's a neoclassical theory, it is still interested in the older Greek and Latin classics. So it definitely displays a renewed interest there. But it also manifests a concern with vernacular languages and national literature. So it also shows a concern, right? The best replacement for this word is to show. To manifest is to show in this case, right? It shows a concern, it has a concern, it displays a concern, right? Displays is another word I can use. I've already used displays here. So which is the best replacement for these words from the options? So if I look at option A, confirm. To confirm is to kind of substantiate something that is already known, right? To kind of prove that something which is known is true. And that is not the context of what we are saying in the sentence. We are saying that this theory, it displays a concern, right? It doesn't confirm a concern. You can't really confirm a concern, right? You can have a concern with vernacular languages. So I don't like A. Okay, what about reveal? It reveals a concern with vernacular languages and national literatures. Can I use the word reveal when I'm talking about the things that a theory is concerned with? For example, the theory of Newton's theory of motion. Right? When I talk about Newton's theory of motion, I describe it. I say what it says. I describe what it talks about, what it is meant to indicate. Reveal is used in a context where something that is hidden comes to the surface, right? Something which is not seen can now be seen, right? So it doesn't fit the context of a theory describing something. So I don't like B. Okay, expresses. Expresses actually is a good word in this context because to express a concern is to display a concern, to show a concern. So neoclassical literary theory, it shows a renewed interest in Greek and Latin classics, but it also expresses, it also shows a concern with vernacular languages. So I like option C, right? I'll keep it for now. Okay, announces. Announcement is generally used to indicate that something is now being presented before an audience, right? For example, the announcement of the start of a play, right? So that has a very specific meaning that you are going to present something before an audience. And so you are announcing it. And that doesn't convey what we are trying to say in this sentence, because in this sentence, we're saying that this theory presents or shows a concern. Right? So I don't like D also. So my best answer is expresses, option C. Okay, let's go to question 3. Many of the current concepts, terms, and issues related to social class derive from Marxist criticism, a diverse and influential source for literary and cultural theory that stems from the work of Karl Marx. Okay, so here I'm describing the basis, the origin of current concepts, terms, and issues related to social class. And I'm saying that these terms and concepts, they derive from, they come from, they originate from Marxist criticism, right? So if I'm thinking of words to put in place of derive, I would say come from, originate from, right? Marxist criticism. Now let's look at some of the options. Acquire. Acquire is not a good word for this. To acquire is to come to own something, right? To come to possess something. And you can't really use that here because here I'm talking about the concepts coming from Marxist criticism, the concepts originating in Marxist criticism. So I don't like option A. Okay, what about trace? Now, trace, if it was used as part of the phrase trace their origin to, let's say this is what the entire phrase was, not just trace, but trace their origin to, then that would actually make sense, right? I could say that these concepts trace their origin to Marxist criticism, because that phrase, to trace something's origin to, means that it comes from that basis. The source is that thing. But it doesn't make sense with just trace, because I cannot say that these concepts trace from Marxist criticism, right? You can also try and put the option into the sentence and see if it reads right. So it doesn't. So we'll not consider B. Now collect. To collect is to kind of pick up things, right? For example, to collect books from the library. So you go to the library and you pick up different books. So it doesn't go with this sentence, right? I can't say that these concepts collect from. That's not what I'm trying to say. So C is not a good answer. Develop, right? Develop actually makes the best sense because I'm saying that these concepts, they develop from, they evolve from, they come from, right? So in the context of the sentence, the best answer is option D, develop. Okay, let's go to question 4. Some might find the idea that our brains are just a bunch of molecules grown in all the usual ways as a bleak renunciation of all that is special about humanity. But to me, it's an exciting modern take on an old idea that there is a bond that unifies all living things. Okay, so let's understand first what the sentence is saying. The sentence is talking about the human brain. And the first part is describing the human brain as just a bunch of molecules, right? Which just like the human brain is just another organ, right? It has neurons and it is made up of a bunch of molecules. So the author is saying that some might think that this is a bleak renunciation. Bleak is grim or sad or gloomy, right? So it's a grim renunciation. Renunciation is to give up, to uh, kind of throw something away, to renounce something, right? So some people might find that the fact that the brain is just a bunch of molecules as a bleak renunciation of all that is special about humanity, because that kind of takes away from the fact that humanity is special, right? If you believe that humanity is special, and then you notice that the human brain in its physical structure at least is no different from other animals' brains, then it kind of, you kind of, the idea that humanity is special is doesn't really fit with that. But to me, right, so some might feel that this is a renunciation, but to me, this is an exciting modern take on an old idea that there is a bond that unifies all living things. So to the author, the idea that the brain is just another organ is not bleak, it's not grim, but rather it's a modern take on the fact that every living being, all animals, humans are connected, right? So the first thing I notice is that this take is a noun, right? It's not the verb take, because I'm saying it's an exciting modern take on an old idea, right? So if you kind of figure out the part of speech of the word that you're supposed to find the meaning for, that can really help you in selecting options. Because when we think of take, we normally think of it as a verb. I'll take this in the evening, right? Can you take this to the principal, please? But here I'm saying that the fact that the brain is just a bunch of molecules, that's an exciting take on an old idea. That's an exciting version of an old idea. So I'm liking the word version, right? It's a version of an old idea. So option A is scene, right? Now the scene is a very visual term, right? When I talk about a scene, I'm basically talking about something that I'm seeing, right? A scene before me. While here, the idea is that we are using the term take to represent an idea, to represent a modern version of an idea. So I don't think scene fits the context. Share, share doesn't really fit the context. I'm not talking about sharing things with other people, etc. Right? I'm talking about a modern version. So B doesn't fit. Okay, outlook is a good option, right? A modern outlook, a modern viewpoint, a modern way of looking at an old idea. Because outlook is a way of looking, a viewpoint. So I'm going to keep this. Okay, reaction. I'm not saying that the fact that the brain is a bunch of molecules, it is a reaction to an old idea. I'm not saying a reaction to an old idea. I'm saying it's a version. It's another form of an old idea. While reaction is always an answer to something, right? It is not used to indicate a version or a form. So D doesn't fit the context, right? And so the best answer is option C. So answering these questions correctly is about applying the options carefully to what is being asked after understanding the context of the question itself. So understand what the sentence is saying and then see which of the options would fit. Okay. Questions 5. In August, some friends and I were sitting around a nighttime campfire. Our group included one young lawyer. The rest of us were saying that it is wrong for lawyers to defend clients they know to be guilty. The lawyer found this claim offensive. So, what is the context here? The context here is of some friends sitting around a campfire, and there is a lawyer among the friends, and the rest of the people, apart from the lawyer, think that if a lawyer knows that his client is guilty, then the lawyer should not defend him, right? And the lawyer finds this claim, this sort of opinion, offensive. He thinks that that's not how law works. Law works on the basis of supporting your client, and even if you know your client is guilty, law is about protecting him legally in court. So the lawyer finds the idea of not representing someone who the lawyer knows to be guilty offensive. So what is this claim? This claim is this opinion, right? This opinion that lawyers should not defend people they know to be guilty, right? So what is the best word for opinion? Requirement. Is that a good option? No. I'm not the friends, when they say that lawyers should not defend people they know to be guilty, they're not saying that this should be a requirement. This is something that they are presenting as an opinion. This is a claim that they are making, right? It's not something that they say should be a requirement. It's not something that they are presenting before a legal office. They're just discussing it within a friend's circle. So option A doesn't fit the context. Assertion. Assertion is a good option. Assertion means to present an idea, to bring up an idea, and that's exactly what is happening here. They are just discussing an idea among friends. So it's an opinion, it's an assertion. So I'm going to keep it. Entitlement. Entitlement doesn't fit the context at all. To be an entitlement is when someone is entitled to something, which is to say that someone possesses something because of hereditary reasons or other reasons, right? For example, the prince is entitled to the throne once the king dies. So that doesn't fit the context of this opinion that the friends have presented. And option D is similar to option A. Demand and requirement are similar in the sense that they go a little beyond the scope of the context, right? The friends are not saying that this has to be a demand or a requirement. They're simply discussing it, and they're wondering whether this should work, whether this may work. So options A and D are a little out. They are a little out of the way of what is being discussed. And so assertion is the best answer. Okay. Question 6. It had grown so dark that we could see the passage of light through the sky from the lighthouse at Cape Huron. So here we are talking about, this is just a scene, describing a scene where there is a lighthouse and it emits light, and that light is passing through the sky, right? So it's the passage of light, the passing of light through the sky. So I like a word like passing of light, the passage of light, right? Something like that. And passing is also an option, incidentally, right? So sometimes when you think of a word that fits the context, you might just find that that word is also part of the option. So passing of light seems good, so I'll keep it. Portion doesn't make sense. Number one, portion is a noun, while here I'm using it to talk about an abstract noun, the passage of light, the passing of light, right? While portion is generally used as a very physical noun. It's not an abstract concept, so that doesn't fit the context. So I'll eliminate B. Okay, transfer of light. Now, transfer doesn't really fit the context because when I speak of transfer, I'm basically saying that a thing has moved from one place to another, right? For example, I transferred the goods from point A to point B. So it's again used in a sort of very physical movement of something. Well, here I'm talking about the passage of light, right? It's a little more abstract. It's a little more, should I say, rhetorical, right? It seems to be a scene from a novel where I'm talking about light passing through the sky, right? So it's not transfer. Transfer will not fit the context here. And change, there is no description of the light changing, right? I'm just talking about the light passing. So that doesn't make sense, right? So the right answer is option A. So sometimes when you do a literature passage and you're trying to find the correct meaning in context, also understand that you might be looking at something which is not entirely in the tangible world, which is not entirely in the real physical world. It could be describing a scene of beauty, it could be describing a scene of tragedy. So try and also understand that abstract concepts require abstract words and abstract meanings. So very physical words like portion and transfer may not work in those cases. Okay, question 7. She had begun to suspect that her husband's ambitious schemes might never find a footing in reality. Okay, so let's first unpack the sentence. So there is a woman and there is a husband, and her husband has a lot of ambitious schemes, right? And the woman is now suspecting, the woman worries that all those ambitious schemes might never find a footing in reality, which is to say that these schemes will just remain schemes. They won't turn into real enterprises, real businesses, real outcomes, right? So she worries that the husband has a lot of ideas, but those ideas won't turn into reality. So let's go to the options and see which word can I place in this sentence, right? Grip. Grip doesn't fit the context here, right? Grip is, so obviously the physical meaning of grip is to hold something very tightly, right? To really like hold on to something. So that doesn't make sense here. But it can also be used in the sense of he is losing his grip on reality, right? To lose one's grip on reality is to kind of be mentally not stable, is to kind of imagine things that are not there, etc. So that is another way grip can be used. It can also be used in this abstract sense, but here it wouldn't make sense because I'm saying that the woman suspects that those schemes would never turn real. So it doesn't make sense here. Option A is out. Okay, basis. If you actually read the sentence by replacing footing with basis, it looks like this. She had begun to suspect that her husband's ambitious schemes might never find a basis in reality. And that actually makes sense, right? Because that these schemes might never find a basis in reality would mean that they would never turn real, that they would always be in the sky, they would always be imaginary. So I actually like basis, so I'll keep that for now. Okay, settlement. Again, settlement is a very physical world, like a place where people settle. So I'm not saying that these schemes will not find a settlement in reality, right? So reality here is an abstract concept. So a physical world, a tangible word like settlement doesn't make sense. And seat for the same reason, right? Seat, to take a seat is to actually sit somewhere, right? And you can't really use it with an abstract concept like reality. So the best answer is basis. The ambitious schemes might never find a basis in reality. Right, so that was the vocabulary in context drill. So as we saw, It is important to understand what the sentence is saying, number one, and then to see how the words might fit the sentence, right? Is the word normally used in a tangible or physical situation? Is the word appropriate for the context? Can the word be used like this? Can I actually put the word in the sentence? All of those questions will help you get to the right answer. Hope this was useful. If it was, hit like and subscribe to the channel. Share the video and let your friends know. Help the channel grow. I'll see you all in a new video soon. Take care. Bye-bye.